Suspense.
My eyes were drawn to the clock again. I watched the minute hand cutting down the time. If Joe came with a squad car, he'd be here in a matter of minutes. But it was his night off. Maybe he wouldn't be able to get a cab. I took another drink just for luck. I opened the door and listened for the elevator. Didn't take long. I went into the hallway. The light on the indicator was flashing. 2, 3, 4. Maybe it wasn't Joe. Maybe it was Boaster. How was I to know? I ducked into the stairway landing, watching. Joe!
What? Warren, are you nuts?
Oh, I've never been so glad to see anybody.
You know better than that, coming up from behind a guy. Say, you look terrible. What's wrong? Well?
Don't close the door, Joe.
Why?
When he comes, we can hear the elevator.
Okay. Now, what's it all about?
He's due here at 10 o'clock. He's a killer.
Who is a killer?
I have to start from the beginning.
You don't have much time.
But you won't understand unless I explain.
Okay, but don't start dramatizing. It's 9:45.
Well, we have to start with the day Lily was murdered. Remember I called you? And when you came, you found me sitting in the bedroom looking at her? Her head hanging almost to the floor, the rest of her doubled up on the bed. Her auburn hair gently suspended like someone spun fine silk around where the bullet went through that lovely head. She was so beautiful. I was sitting there looking at her. And the sounds tumbling around my head. The photographers, the newspapermen, flashbulbs, all like a bad dream.
Look, can't you take the hair away from her face?
I'll cut your head off if you touch that body.
Let's see the gun.
Show him the gun, Mike.
It's a gun. What's there to say? Well, we understand it's Warren's gun.
You understand nothing until it's official.
The coroner said it happened this morning, about 4 hours ago. Now, how about that, Lieutenant Scarponi?
Then quote him. Don't ask me. Mike.
Yeah?
They had enough. Get him out of here.
Oh, wait a minute. Not so fast. I want one more shot of Warren. Put that drink back in your hand, Mr. Warren, please.
Now, look, fella, don't overdo it.
This is no private affair, Lieutenant Scarponi.
Why don't you lay off?
Well, put the drink back in his hand.
Take it the way he is and get out.
We'd like to do it the way it happened. He had a drink in his hand.
It wouldn't look so good, Lieutenant, if the paper said you were covering up for a lifelong friend.
Mike, get him out of here.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Well, this is some mess, Warren.
Yeah.
How did it happen?
Oh, I loved her, Joe. You knew how I loved her. More than anything in the world. Now look at her.
Yeah.
You know we've been fighting. Last night was the worst that ever happened. So I ran out of the house.
What time?
Oh, right after dinner. I went down to the Silver Grill and had a couple. You can check on that.
Uh-huh.
Then the Biltmore and had a few more. And I remember calling a cab on 7th and Hill. And then, so help me, Joe, that's all I remember.
What do you mean that's all you remember?
Well, that's all. I drew a blank. We've known each other all our lives, Joe. Did you ever know me to black out?
Oh, that's not like you, Warren.
But that's what happened. I don't remember anything.
Until when?
Until I woke up and called you.
And where did you wake up?
Right here in the bedroom.
In bed?
No, in this chair. Just like I am now. I saw Lily. Just like she is now. Blood on the floor. I know she's done for. My beautiful Lily. Then I get up to get a bottle. And I sit down again in this chair. I take one good long drink. I reach for the phone on the night table. I call you. I've been sitting here since. With a bottle.
Mm-hmm. And, the gun. Is it yours, Warren?
You know that gun is mine.
It was on the floor. It's the gun that killed her.
Joe, do you think I did it?
Well, I don't have to tell you how it looks.
I know how it looks. What I want to know is, do you think I did it?
I'll have to book you, Warren.
Oh, I couldn't have killed her, Joe. You know I couldn't. I loved her too much. I couldn't have killed her, Joe.
Before we get to trial, Warren, for your own good, you'd better start remembering.
Seems like a long time ago, Joe. I just couldn't remember what I'd been doing there in the bedroom after Lily was murdered. Couldn't even remember how I got there.
But 2 minutes ago, you were scared to death. You were trying to reach me every place in town. Well, I'm here.
You remember that day in the courtroom?
What's that got to do with the killer who's on his way up here?
Quite a bit, Joe. And that's what I'm coming to. But before he comes, you got to know the whole story.
I know the whole story.
Not quite. Think back to that day in court, Joe. You remember how bad it looked for me? All the newspapers were sure I was done for because I couldn't remember where I was when she was killed. And I knew I was somewhere else when it happened. But all the evidence piled against me. Everybody sure I was a dead duck. You and Madge in court at my side, and the prosecuting attorney pressing the jury for the full penalty.
And the only defense offered by the accused is that he doesn't remember. He pleads not guilty, claiming temporary insanity. Forgetfulness as so conveniently happening to the accused cannot be construed as insanity. The state must therefore ask that the full penalty according to the law...
Madge. Here, get me some water.
Hey, Pat, now, poor man, he just couldn't take it that way.
This court will keep order. Order!
You all right now, Warren? You feel better? Joe, I didn't do it.
Yeah, sure.
Joe, I remember now. I remember. I didn't do it. I was out of town when it happened. I was out of town. I was out of town when Lily was murdered, Joe, and we proved it, remember? And I was acquitted. Like a bad dream, wasn't it?
Look, for the last time, Warren, is this what you called me up to your office for? What's this got to do with somebody coming over here to kill you?
Yeah, like a bad dream.
Okay, Warren, I've got a date with Madge.
Oh, no, Joe, you got a date with the killer.
Then who is the killer?
I'll never forget that day they acquitted me. I walked out of court a free man.
I know you weren't guilty. Your alibi proved you weren't guilty. I know all that.
Yes, Joe, but you don't know. I was guilty.
What did you say?
I was guilty.
Oh, you're losing your mind, Warren. You're nuts.
If I'm nuts, what does that make you?
Makes sense, Warren.
Lily thought I was nuts, too. Smart little woman. Thinking she could make a sucker out of me. She was going to leave me. Take half of all I had. That's what she thought.
How did you kill Lily that morning when you were in Glendale? I know you were in Glendale because your alibi proved it.
It was Lily who gave me the idea how to do it. You know how beautiful she was? Every Thursday, the maid's day off, she stayed in bed, slept the clock around, taking care of her looks. I began figuring. Lily all day alone. Lily in bed. All I had to do was hire somebody to kill her while I was out of town.
Then the guy coming up here...
That's right, is the killer. A 3-time loser and very tough. I gave him my gun to do it with, and that's all there was to it. He's the man you want, Joe. He's on his way up here to kill me. Instead of doing that, you'll arrest him and clear your books on the Lily case.
So, this is why it was so important for me to get here, huh?
Well, you have to admit it was neat, getting myself pinched, faking the blackout, stacking the evidence against myself, and forcing you to bring me to trial. I never had a blackout in my life, but it got me off. Great law, that double jeopardy. Puts you on the spot, though, doesn't it, Joe? You know I'm guilty, but there's nothing you can do about it. The law says I can't be tried twice for the same crime. You see, Joe, I happen to be one of those lawyers who knows his law.
Yeah. You've always been at the head of the class. Never worked too hard to get there. Just by looking over the next guy's shoulder and using him was the smart way, huh? Yeah, Kitty, very neat.
I knew you'd be a good sport about it.
Maybe I'm just another dumb cop to you. Well, I don't like anybody making a sucker out of me. Especially a guy who's supposed to be my good friend.
Where you going?
You got a date with this killer who's due here any minute. Well, I got a date with my girl. Good night, Warren. We're both going to keep our dates.
Well, Joe, what are you trying to do? You're a cop. You've got to pick him up. He's a killer, Joe.
I can pick him up after 10 o'clock, can't I?
Oh, you can't leave me, Joe. You can't leave me here alone.
I don't like your company.
Oh, he's going to kill me, Joe.
He's going to kill you. Now, why should he do that to a guy who pays so well for what he buys?
Well, I'm the only one who knows he fired that gun.
Are you gentlemen all through for the night?
Yeah, I'm all through. He's going to stay.
I'm going down.
Well, step in.
Stay where you are, Warren.
You can't leave me.
Let go of my arm.
Joe!
Close the door, mister. I said close the door.
Joe, he's going to kill me. Joe!
Hello, Warren.
What? Bolster. It was Bolster standing there and leering at me. Joe, he's here! Joe!
Shut up. Don't do that again.